Letter from Bernard to Caleb. A variation on protected time, endurance, and becoming. Caleb, I am writing again, not because the first letter was incomplete, but because truth, once spoken, never exhausts itself. It opens new doors. A subject like protected time is not a single well you draw from once, but a river you keep returning to, and every return shows the water flowing in another way. You are young, and because you are young, I do not want you to mistake the edges of this truth. The first letter was meant to give you the foundation. This one is meant to draw it out, to show its breadth, to show how it touches every corner of a man's life. If the first letter was a hammer striking the nail, this one will be the slow turning of the screw, steady, deeper, holding fast. Time is territory. Think of time as land, Caleb. Each man is given a plot. Some are larger, some smaller. But no matter the size, the ground must be defended. If you do not build a fence, others will walk across it. If you do not till it, weeds will claim it. If you do not mark it, it will be mistaken for no man's land. So it is with hours. You are given only so many. If you do not guard them, they will be overrun by the demands of others. People will take what you do not defend, and worse, if you never claim your hours, you will come to believe they were never yours in the first place. That is the tragedy of many men. They give away what was always theirs, and then at the end wonder why they feel hollow. Protected time is nothing more and nothing less than this: the fence you build around a portion of your land. Not the whole. You still labor, you still give, you still serve. But a portion is yours, inviolate. A portion is for the tending of the inner field. 2. The assault of intrusion. Why do I speak with such urgency? Because intrusion is relentless. When you are a boy, intrusion comes from parents, from teachers, from the constant voice of authority. When you are a man, it comes from employers, from systems, from obligations that multiply like weeds. When you are old, it comes from illness, from institutions, from the constant press of the body's needs. At every stage, someone or something is knocking at your door. You must learn this: the world is not careful with your time. It will consume without remorse, not always out of malice, sometimes out of sheer thoughtlessness, but the result is the same. If you do not guard a portion of your hours, you will find yourself spent without ever having chosen. This is why I call it protected, because without protection, you will be overrun. 3. The hours of the night. I have told you before how I first found my own protected time, in the night. When my father slept, the house became mine. Midnight to 2 in the morning, hours when no one could intrude. Those hours were not restful, they cost me dearly, but they were free. The freedom of the night taught me something, that the value of time is not measured by convenience, but by ownership. A tired hour that belongs to you is worth more than a rested hour given unwillingly to another. I learned to cherish exhaustion if it was the price of freedom. Even now, I guard the night. It has become my citadel. It may look strange to others, staying awake when the world sleeps, but to me it is the most natural thing, for it is in those hours that I am whole. 4. The silence of the room. Let me tell you something else, Caleb. Silence itself becomes a kind of companion. In the guarded hours when others sleep, silence settles in like an old friend. At first it feels heavy. You want to fill it with sound, with distraction. But if you endure it, you find that silence begins to speak, not with words, but with presence. It steadies you. It gives shape to your thoughts. It teaches patience. Most people flee from silence because it forces them to face themselves. But this is exactly why protected time matters. It gives you a mirror. Sometimes you will not like what you see, but better to face it in the stillness than to run from it until the end. 5. The cost of guarding. Do not imagine that protected time comes without cost. Others will misunderstand. They will think you aloof, selfish, distant. They will not understand why you say no. They will accuse you of neglect. I have lived long enough to know you must bear their misunderstanding. You must be willing to be thought strange. A man who is always understood is not living his own life. He is only echoing the lives of others. Better to be misunderstood and whole than praised and hollow. 6. Protected time and work. Let me speak now of work. A man's labor is necessary. We must build, earn, provide. But if work consumes every hour, it devours the self. Protected time does not diminish work, it deepens it. A man who guards his hours returns to labor with clarity. Without that, he becomes only a machine. I have seen men give all their time to their work, and at the end they do not know who they are. Their work lives on, the house they built, the company they serve, but their self has vanished. Protected time is the antidote. It ensures that the worker does not lose the man inside the laborer. 7. Protected time in relationships. You may wonder, what about family, about friends, about love? Does protecting time mean shutting others out? No. It means making sure that when you give yourself, you give a self worth giving. A man who never guards his hours will arrive at his relationships empty. He will give what others want, but not who he truly is. But a man who guards his time, who has met himself in silence, who has tended his own soul, he gives not fragments but substance. So paradoxically, by protecting time, you do not abandon others, you honor them. You ensure that when you show up, you are whole. 8. The moral dimension. There is also a moral weight to this. A person without protected time is easily manipulated. He lives in reaction. He cannot deliberate because he never pauses. He cannot resist because he has no inner ground to stand on. He conforms to the loudest voice, the nearest demand. But a man who has protected time has an inner citadel. He can weigh, he can judge, he can refuse. Protected time is therefore not only a personal practice, it is a condition for moral independence. Without it, conscience becomes echo. With it, conscience becomes voice. 8. The moral dimension. There is also a moral weight to this. A person without protected time is easily manipulated. He lives in reaction. He cannot deliberate because he never pauses. He cannot resist because he has no inner ground to stand on. He conforms to the loudest voice, the nearest demand. But a man who has protected time has an inner citadel. He can weigh, he can judge, he can refuse. Protected time is therefore not only a personal practice, it is a condition for moral independence. Without it, conscience becomes echo. With it, conscience becomes voice. 9. Poverty of time. I must also acknowledge, Caleb, that not all are free to claim time equally. Poverty, responsibility, illness, these devour hours. Some cannot afford long stretches of solitude. And yet, even in the harshest conditions, a measure is possible. The prisoner guards a corner of thought from intrusion. The mother wakes an hour before the children. The laborer walks home in silence. Even a single hour can be protected. Do not despise the small measure. A single hour faithfully guarded can bear fruit for a lifetime. 10. From defense to creation. If you take nothing else from this letter, take this. Protected time begins as defense, but it ends as creation. At first, it is only survival. You carve out an hour to breathe, to endure, but over time, that hour becomes fertile. Out of the silence comes thought. Out of the thought comes creation. Out of creation comes gift. This is the turning point. The boy's shield becomes the man's workshop. What begins in fear becomes voice. 11. Endurance and becoming. I want you to see, Caleb, that this is not only about time. It is about endurance, and it is about becoming. Protected time is endurance, holding an hour against intrusion. And endurance is becoming. Through the hours you hold, you become yourself. Without endurance, you drift. With it, you stand. Every man must endure something. For some it is labor, for some it is suffering, for some it is responsibility. But endurance without protected time becomes mere survival. Protected time gives endurance shape. It ensures that in bearing the weight, you are also being formed. 12. The inheritance. So once again, I give this to you not as advice, but as inheritance. Guard your time, Caleb. Build the wall. Bear the misunderstanding. Cherish the silence. Let it shape you. And remember, no one will give it to you freely. You must take it. You must defend it. You must make it your own. That, Caleb, is the meaning of protected time. Not once spoken, but spoken again and again until it takes root in your bones.
Bernard.